I'm a UVM student. I was talking to you before. I'm sure you noticed that. But I'm going to try to keep this civil.
Heckling, yes.
Yeah. But I'm just going to hope you respond in a way that's not so just conservative talking point and more of a conversation way. Hopefully. Maybe?
Sure.
Okay. So before there was a question about like Native American communities and treaties and stuff like that. And you were talking about how historically Native Americans have been kind of like screwed over by the US government and stuff like that. Don't you think that that history will impact how Native Americans live today and make it more difficult to succeed in America? Don't you think that would influence that?
Well, I suppose a question I'll ask back at you. We've made tremendous accommodations, such as sovereignty of Native American land, an entire department of the federal government dedicated just solely to that. Do you recognize that there's been great efforts to try to accommodate that?
I recognize those efforts, but obviously they haven't worked.
So why haven't they worked?
Because it's either not enough or the way that we're doing it is, like, we need to treat it more as an equity thing instead of just saying, oh, it's a culture, like, instead of blaming it on people's, like, individual working and, like, change it societally and help them in a way that actually matters.
So you do know that there's universal health care at Native American reservations, right?
Yeah, but it's not very good because they don't have access to...
Because it's socialistic.
No. They have universal health care in plenty of European countries, and it works just fine. The flaws with the Native American...
So I'm curious, how did Vermont's experiment in universal health care go?
I'm not from Vermont, so I don't know these things.
I didn't hear your response. Say that again.
I'm not from Vermont, so I don't know these things. I moved here like 2 months ago.
Yeah, I still can't hear what you said. Say it one more time. You're wearing a mask. It's kind of hard. Can you say it again?
I moved here like 2 months ago. I'm not from Vermont, so I don't know these things.
Right. So Vermont tried single payer. They had to abolish it. It was a total disaster. So look, I think the best way to help Native American communities is to help all people through empowerment and education. Instead, we tried a heavy-handed government approach of intervention of the Bureau of Native American Affairs, of universal health care. And if you want to go see a socialist dystopia, go to a Native American reservation. Maybe you have. Maybe you worked on Native American reservations before. I've been to plenty. They're depressing. They're government addicted, unfortunately, in more ways than one. They're very, very corrupt. And this is something I want to ask you. Would you self-identify as a socialist? Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Okay. Ish.
I'm not a liberal. I'm more social. I'm
okay.
Socialist and liberal are different words, and I think conservatives confuse that a lot. They're completely different things. Okay.
No, we don't. So I'm just curious, as someone who would say you're a socialist, what would be a country you think works well that's a socialist country?
There are no socialist countries right now.
There are no has there ever been a socialist country?
Truly socialist? No.
Okay. So your worldview is on something that's never existed and currently doesn't exist?
Is it a bad thing to be like pro-change?
Okay, so just so we're clear, yeah, the type of change you're advocating is horrifying. But so it's never existed, doesn't, and so I would say Venezuela, Cuba, North Korea, formerly Vietnam, the Soviet Union, those are not and were not socialist countries?
The disastrous effects in those countries were directly contributed by U.S. intervention. There were multiple coups done by the CIA in those countries.
So let's take. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Let's take. I'm just curious. And so, how on earth did Fidel Castro taking over Cuba have anything to do with U.S. intervention?
There was plenty of sanctions. Economically, Cuba was completely cut off. There was no. They tried to assassinate him plenty of times. There were so many things.
The fact that they're communist.
Yeah.
We had what to do with that?
We didn't have anything to do with that, but after a communist regime took over, they had a...
Yeah, so let me ask you another, so first of all, Zimbabwe was not communist?
Burkina Faso, Thomas Sankara.
Say that again?
Thomas Sankara, Burkina Faso. Before he was assassinated, he was actually
How about Mugabe? He wasn't a communist? How about Joseph Stalin? He wasn't a communist?
He called himself
How about Mao Zedong? He wasn't a communist?
Yeah.
Pol Pot?
plenty of terrible people have called themselves plenty of different names. North Korea,
Oh, so you get to be the judge. Got it.
Gen-
Right. So I just want to make sure we complete the point. You believe in something that doesn't exist, has never existed, and even though the people that call themselves the things that you believe, you say they weren't really that, which is the most important point. Socialism is always judged against an impossible utopia, and they judge markets against a reality. And here's the truth of the matter. That markets, which you enjoy comfortably in Western society, is the most proven affluent creating machine in human history. And I would just challenge you to do one thing. Please stop believing in a utopian nightmare and start looking at things around you that are good, that are true, that are beautiful, that work, and are consistent with the natural law. You'll be a much happier person if you do that.